HarperCollins presents Leaving the Ladder Down, How to Combine Career and Motherhood from the Women Who've Done It. Written and read by Dolly Jones. Introduction. The question, what do you do, has long presented a conundrum for me as an undeserved social faux pas. It engenders indignance, even outrage. But if you spend most of your time doing it, what's the harm? If you have children, the greatest time-eating job of all, conversation is easily trumped by the who, why, how, where and when of parenting. But you're not supposed to talk about that either. It's considered dull, despite children being the central axis of our life. Once your life combines work and parenting, there isn't much time to talk anyway. But the construct of your individual approach to it becomes the biggest conundrum of all. Because if you want to excel, earn, expand, and inspire in your career, and you're partial to your baby, then it's quite a conversation to take on. So how do you do what you do is the better question. Once I had children, it was one I wanted to ask every working mother I met. I wanted to dive into, how do you actually do it? How do you keep going? What am I missing? My first baby arrived when I was 12 years into a job at Vogue that I loved. I was the editor of its digital operations and thought about it 24/7. It was fast and furious, glamorous and compelling, and intimidating, thrilling in a different way every day. And suddenly, in the coldest, darkest part of the night, I was feeding my baby towards whom, from the moment he'd been pulled from me and I'd caught a glimpse of his tiny fingers starfished in outrage, I felt absolute, unwavering duty. Love came into it, of course. There were tears and heart-thumping ecstasy, but overriding my primal feelings were logistical ones. And as I sat there mentally feeling out this new life so full of him, I thought about work and was struck with the question, how do I do this? Previously, life had involved learning and succeeding, entertaining and informing on a new platform that was emerging as the leading global communication source. I'd never considered how the career I loved and had huge aspirations for could coexist with the parent I wanted to be. How was I to reconcile my two personas? And if I managed it, was it possible that I was driving headlong to catastrophe? Once our daughter arrived 2 years later and I was working at full throttle, there was no question of giving up. I felt fueled by the reality of working motherhood. But as the children grew, I began to wonder whether there was another way of doing it. By then my role was more corporate, less creative, and felt more like a treadmill. But to slow down, or take a different turn, put me at risk of letting my children down. Didn't they need to grow up seeing me succeed? Was my duty not to inspire my son by proving that women can? And let my daughter see that she could, too? Or was I letting them down by not being wrapped around them, however meticulous our childcare arrangements? The prevailing narrative surrounding working motherhood seemed to carry the suggestion that working somehow attenuated our validity or skill as a mother. Pre-babies, my plan to return to work had never been in doubt. But the intractable urge not to leave them took me by surprise. To harness the chaos, I searched for books to provide insight into how this could possibly work. Initial investigation was fruitless. The sheer volume of parenting how-to books indicated challenges ahead, but there wasn't much out there to galvanise or to soothe apprehension early in the potentially bewildering process of personal and professional amalgamation. They generally made me feel inadequate or intimidated by how much I was apparently getting wrong before I'd even begun. We just don't make being a grown woman look like an appealing job. We do not sell the idea that being a woman is, yes, difficult, but also amazing and joyous and powerful and freeing. Caitlin Moran, mother of 2, journalist.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?